Welcome to the second half of the day, and this is our first press conference on the second day of IFFI. It's a privilege and a pleasure for me to welcome Ms. Federica Benicia, who is the producer of the film S for Stanley, which is directed by Alex Infascelli, and Mr. Pierre Filmon, who is the director of Close Encounters with Vilmos Sigmund. Before we start, before I introduce them and we go into the Q&A session, I would like you to see a glimpse, a trailer of both the films. Can we do that first? Yeah, sure. Thank you. Can we have the lights switched off, please?
Les acteurs sont payés cher, il faut les voir. Donc, là, en collaboration avec Altman, parce que ça se fait pas sans les acteurs, ils jouent l'authenticité.
After Sugarland Express, I employed with Spielberg on Jaws, and telling the truth, I did like the subject. I thought it was great for kids, sharks eating people, it was. I didn't realize that he's going to make a great film like that. But I definitely wanted to do 40 Encounters of a Third Kind, which he already promised me that I will do whenever he's going to finish Jaws. I started to shoot digital images with many cameras. Well, this is probably a very good thing, but they're Sony. And I was so surprised at the great image I got. Yeah, you got a good image.
The other one, please. We still have one more.
This is the story of two men. E came from Italy and S from the United States. One was a race car driver and the other one was a genius.
He said, I'm Stanley Kubrick. So I just looked at him. And I'm Emilio d'Alessandro.
Emilio was initially hired as Kubrick's personal chauffeur, but pretty soon he became the man in charge of everything, from the props to the pets, from the actors to the members of his family. As a director and Kubrick junkie, I decided this was going to be my next project. So I went to meet Emilio in Cassino, where he lives now. And he told me of his 30 years next to Stanley.
So Stanley said to me, Emilio, this is Jack Nicholson, the new actor for the film. What do you think about Jack Nicholson? I said, well, looks okay, but why don't you use Charles Bronson?
I had the opportunity to get a unique look inside Kubrick's life and to hear the story of an incredible friendship. I thought I knew everything about the man, but what I found is much, much more.
Both these films, S is for Stanley and Close Encounters with Vilmos Zsigmond, are a part of documenting the Legends section of IFFI Goa 2016. This section is a package of 7 documentaries on some of the greatest legends in world cinema. I would also read out a few lines about the films before we ask our guests to talk about it. Close Encounters with Vilmos Zsigmond is a French-made documentary that explores the life and artistry of one of the virtuoso founding fathers of contemporary cinematography. The Hungarian-born neorealist Vilmos Zsigmond, who died at 85 this January this year, has some lively and resonant anecdotes that testify to what the highly cultivated craft of lensing a movie is really all about. This film will be screened in Inox 4 at 11:20 a.m. on 25th of November. That's 2 days away. And Alex Infacelli's S is for Stanley may be the first ever film made about a director's personal assistant, whom you saw just now, Emilio Di Alessandro, an Italian immigrant who went from being an unknown London taxi driver and aspiring Formula One racer to Stanley Kubrick's chauffeur for nearly 30 years. Fans of the late great filmmaker may find some curious insights into an artist who shied away from the camera and mostly kept his private life under wraps, adding the film to the growing pile of Kubrick's memorabilia currently available on both the screen and printed page. This was screened last evening at 7:20. I hope some of you got to see it at Inox 4. I would now request our guest, first Madam Federica Penicia, to make an opening statement, then Mr. Filmon, and then we'll open the house up for question and answer. Thank you. Yes.
Hello to everybody. First of all, I'm very honored to be here and to present our documentary that you choose for this section of the IFFI Festival, and I thank you for that. Our documentary is a very intimate portrait to one of the most important director in the story. I'm speaking, of course, of Stanley Kubrick. And we had the fortune to do this documentary thanks to Emilio D'Alessandro, the driver. Nobody knows almost anything about the personal life of Stanley Kubrick because Stanley preferred and wanted to be behind the camera, never in front of the camera. His family is very reserved, and although they watched our documentary and they appreciated it, there is no footage on Stanley Kubrick that is available. Artistically, we decided to use and to tell you the story of Stanley Kubrick only through the things that he did and that he gave to Emilio. So we decided not to use any footage of his movie, but only objects and pictures that were made by Stanley or by Emilio or during these 30 years together. This documentary is not only a documentary on Stanley Kubrick and on Emilio D'Alessandro, but in reality, and this is what I think people feel more, and they could experience yesterday, because a lot of people were present in the screening, and after they were very happy and they enjoyed the documentary, because this is the story of a really friendship, a very strong friendship and devotion between two persons that are so different, because Stanley Kubrick was very well educated, he was a genius, he was a maestro. Emilio was a very simple, humble person, but he was very devoted to the job and to his chief, Stanley. So this is a story of friendship that lasts for a life, because Emilio started working for Stanley Kubrick, and then he stayed with him since 30 years. And thanks to him, we have Eyes Wide Shut, because as we tell you in the documentary, when Emilio decided to retire and to go back to Cassino, Stanley, who was making the location research for Eyes Wide Shut, stopped it. And then he started again to work on the movie when, after 2 years, Emilio went back to London and he said, okay, if you tell me that you are coming back, I will do this movie. So it's very touching and very moving that a simple person can be so important for a genius and for a person who was a controller, that had so many obsessions like Kubrick had. This is, I think, the main thing of our documentary that touched the heart and goes directly to people, even to those who don't know very well Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, Mr. Philbon, would you like to?
I have to see this film. It seems great. And Federica said anything I would like to say about my documentary. She said a perfect thing that I'm aiming also with my documentary. But first of all, me too, it's a great honor to be here in India. It's my first time in India, first time in Goa. And I'm extremely honored to be there and thankful, grateful to the staff, dedicated staff, and the crew and everyone here. I feel very welcome here, and I thank you all. About the film, I wouldn't add very much, if I may, to everything Federica said, because that was also the same ambition in me. The main difference being that I'm the simple man in the film, that's not someone else. Because I'm making a documentary about a famous cinematographer who got the Academy Award for Close Encounters of the Third Kind by Steven Spielberg. And I had the chance to meet this wonderful man after having admired his work, like every one of you, on the screen as a cinephile. So when I had the luck to be in the same room than him, I met a generous man, very simple, extraordinary human being who changed my life and who taught me extremely important things of life and how to also behave. There is a craft, a genius, and a man. And for me, I need all those elements in someone to admire him. So I had in front of me the ideal of a man and a man of cinema. So I decided to make this film as an homage, as also my declaration of love to cinema. So I hope it will touch people. I think you, gentlemen and women of the press, haven't seen the film yet, so you're more than welcome on Friday, and we'll carry on the discussion. But you are more than welcome to ask me questions, and I will answer the best I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll open the house for questions now. Please switch off your mobiles or put it on silent mode, and please identify with your name and your organization. Thank you so much.
Hi, Ms. Manisha. This is Faizan from Delhi. I'd like to ask you a simple question, like, did you ever get a chance to meet Mr. Kubrick? And if, how was the experience?
No, I didn't have the chance to meet Mr. Kubrick, but our director, Alex Infascelli, went to Kubrick's house in Chidek, and he had a very long interview with Christiane, Kubrick's wife, in 2007. So, and there it was the first time that he heard somebody speaking about this Italian man who worked for them for 30 years, attending to almost everything.
Good afternoon. I'm Runa Agarwal from All India Radio Goa, and I wanted to ask, my question is actually to both of you. Both of you have made films on people, on specific real-life individuals, and both of you have assumedly shown the movies to their families. What was the reaction that you got from their families, especially in your case, considering that you didn't capture the human side of him from a family relationship standpoint? And to you too, because both of you captured that relationship from a work standpoint, but you said the melding of the man, the genius, and the craft. So could you elaborate a little bit more about what their families felt on the movies?
Okay, thank you for this question. Yes, Kubrick's family I mean, his wife, Christiane, and her brother, Jan Arlan, who was the producer of the last movies of Stanley. They could watch our documentary, they enjoyed it, and other people related to the family, I mean, for example, Milena Canonero, the costume designer that worked for The Clockwork Orange and Barry Lyndon, and he was a very close friend of the family. They were moved by our story, so they liked it, especially because we decided not to do anything against Kubrick, because this was the aim of Emilio. Emilio loves Kubrick like a son to a father, and they never wanted to do or to write in his book, from which we made the documentary, anything against the family or against Kubrick. It was a very good relationship and something very, very powerful. So they were very happy, and that's it.
In my case, I emphasized very much on the man I had in front of me. And this documentary, I always say, is not my documentary, I always said, it's our documentary. So each choice I made in the movie was made with Vilmos. So each time I said I would like to have this person, to meet those guys in the ASC, your friends, the directors, I asked him first as a matter of respect. So for the family it was the same. And he didn't see the point in interviewing his two daughters, because he said they didn't have anything to do with my craft, so I think they wouldn't add anything to your documentary. But his widow now, Suzanne, was always with him when I filmed Vilmos, and she was a supporter of the film. But still, being there when you shoot a film is not watching the film. So obviously, for me, her commentary on the film was crucial. So 2 days before Cannes, because the film premiered in Cannes this year in the official selection, Susan watched the film on a Vimeo link, and I received an extremely touching mail from her saying, when I watched your documentary, so it was after Vilmos died, I cried and I laughed at the same time. Vilmos is alive on the screen. And for me, that's the best compliment ever I could receive, that each time the film is screened, it's like making Vilmos alive again.
I'm B.V. Chaturvedi from Indore. I want to ask one question. Every producer, every director of the world cinema started his career, I think so, from documentaries. And documentary says something about a personality and the social values of the life. Now you are choosing the person and only person. What do you think about your society and what the documentary says to all the people of the world, because they are better than the films. So how you think that the films are better, or documentaries are better, and how you choose the subject to make the documentaries?
Yes, there are several questions in your question. I couldn't speak about documentary in general. I feel much at ease to speak about my own, because it's not a social film, it's a documentary about cinema, which aim is to be as broad as possible, so to include the audience in the film in a very intimate relationship. But maybe I grabbed something of the society of today and the society of the 70s, but indeed it's not the subject of the film. But I couldn't prefer fiction against documentary, because for me it's so fascinating, both media. Fiction can have so many things to learn from documentary, as well as documentary should learn many things from fiction film. Because when you make a documentary, and Federica, I'm curious to know what she thinks about it too, but when you are editing a documentary, you are using means of fiction sometimes. and so you're making a film. So it's just the same medium. You're making a film too, but I'm always curious of documentary and fiction film in my life, personal life, as a cinephile.
Yes, of course. For me, there is not a very well limits, yes, and division between documentary and feature films. As Pierre was saying, when you use, for example, in post-production or in editing, some graphics or some animations, this boundary it's going to glow. So in our case, our documentary is based on the book that Emilio D'Alessandro published all around the world, Stanley Kubrick and Me, and we decided to start with the documentary because Emilio it's a little bit old, and we want to show to the world who was this person that nobody knew, because of course in the credits of the movies that Stanley Kubrick did while Emilio was working for him, there is no mention of this man. Only familiar people, and then of course the talent that worked with Stanley knew him very well, and they all love him. But otherwise there is no way to make his story known. So we started with the documentary, but in our aim there is to make a feature film on this story, which is incredible, especially because Emilio worked so many years with him without understanding who really was Stanley Kubrick. And he never saw a movie of Stanley Kubrick while working with him, because he said, oh my God, I spent 3-4 years for example, working for Barry Lyndon, and then I have to spend 3 or 4 hours watching it? No way. I did it my way. So he was really a very simple person. And he understood how that he worked for a genius only when he go back to Italy. And when he asked for the identity card, the person at the office asked him, okay, and what have you done in London so many years? I work for a director. Who was this director? Stanley Kubrick. Really, Stanley Kubrick? And he was astonished that this person at the office in Cassino knew Stanley Kubrick. And he said, yes, but he's a genius. He's one of the best directors ever lived. So, I love documentaries, I like feature films too, of course, and I think that they are art. They are the 7 arts in the world, and no way if you put the label documentary or feature. The most important thing is that something arrived to people that watch them.
I'm Christine. So, was it a hard job for you to direct the life of one of the greatest cinematographers in history?
Thank you for the question. Well, there was a challenge in the sense that you want to make a documentary about a cinematographer, so you'd better make a good film and a good image, you know? It's not just something you're going to do like this. It's not respectful. So I wanted great men in front of the camera, but great cinematographers behind the camera too. So I had the help of many great associations, the French one, IFFI, the American ASC, you know those cinematographer association. I'm sure in India there's an Indian Society of Cinematographer. Those people, it's fantastic because those guys, or women, but it's quite a man's world for the time, but it's changing and for the better. And so they are very friendly together. What I discovered making this film is that cinematographers scarcely work together because there is just one cinematographer in a film. So they don't work together usually, but they see the work of the other one on the screen, like you, like me. So it's Vittorio Storaro who made me discover this. And when I wanted to have the best image possible, I knew that there was also the look of Vilmos, even being in front of the camera. He had the look of how it was behind. He knew everything. So I invited him as soon as possible in making the film to check, to see, and to give advice. At the beginning, he said, no, it's your documentary. No, I said, it's not mine, it's ours. Okay, so step by step, he came behind and gave advice. And as you can see in the beginning of the documentary, when you'll see it Friday, you see it starts like this. It's Vilmos is setting up his own interview. And because he felt that I had this care for the image, and you will judge by yourself if you think I succeeded or not.
Pierre, European cinema has a very rich tradition of cinematography. Vilmos Zsigmond, Sven Nykvist, and Vittorio Storaro, all of them being European. In some way or the other, they have worked in Hollywood, and Hollywood has benefited a lot. So how do you explain this phenomenon, the European creativity in Hollywood?
It's a large question because it doesn't just imply cinematography. Of course, all of you know the directors, the Billy Wilder, before the Fritz Lang, all came, okay, you know much better than me the story of cinema, so I'm sure you're aware of all that. As for cinematographers, it's indeed, there is the first wave after the Second World War of people going there, because those directors coming from Germany, for example, came with their cinematographers. Karl Freund, for example, they came with the guys. Milos Forman came with Miroslav Andricek, his cinematographer, because they like the crews. But to tell you the truth, Vilmos, it didn't happen like this. Vittorio Storaro, it didn't happen like this. They have all their own stories. Vittorio told me, I have a very different story than Vilmos. Vilmos flee as a Hungarian refugee, the revolution in *56. So like a war, he flee because he had filmed things he shouldn't have, and he had to flee with the reel under his shoulder. And as far as Vittorio is concerned, and still today, like the guys like Vittorio Storaro, like Bruno Del Bonel, like Darius Conji, still work. And Hoyte van Hoytema, who has done the latest Christopher Nolan film Dunkirk, is from European origin. I think there is a very specific link between the Hollywood intelligentsia and, let's say, the guys that make, and the women that make great cinema, and the attraction to this European origin. And have this cultural feeling, this plus that gives culture and art through cinema. So I would say there's a very ancient link between Europe and Hollywood, and it still goes on today.
I just want to tell you, this is his 60 years he's been covering film festivals.
Yes. Sir, I'm asking one question. Films required a story writer. Then the documentary makers want a research work. What the role of research worker in the making a documentary? It's a very, very difficult one. To search out the things, to show the things, the life of the people, society of the people. In what way you research the things for documentaries?
But my research for this...
What role does research in documentaries?
Okay, sorry. Excuse me for not having understood everything. Research. Well, it was the minimum of respect I could to Vilmos to be the best all the time. I was working with the best, John Travolta, John Boorman, Jerry Shatner. I had the best in front of the camera. So I had to be the best. So I had to know everything about the films. I was dealing about the life of Vilmos, about the craft, not being a cinematographer. So I had to make the best research possible. So I watched films, I read books, but differently from Federica's project, there was no book that Vilmos wrote. So I had to feel, things about his life, things that maybe he had never said before, that I had to feel and ask him the good questions so he could reveal himself. But it was just possible because he accepted to be revealed in a way. Research, yes, and let me tell you a little anecdote. While editing, so it went on 1 year, 10 months, 10 weeks on 10 months. So not 1 week a month, but some weeks, 1 month, then we stopped and show the film and ask for feedback, and then again a session working, and it was a very long process to finish to a, let's hope, a good film. And at a certain point, after the second session, I said, are you sure you've covered every aspect of your film? Are you sure? Have you done it? Yes. Have you done this? Yes. What else? And I realized that there was some part of his career I had left aside, which is his first period in America. Because when Vilmos arrived in America, he had to start from the beginning his whole life and career. He was a very well-educated cinematographer in Hungary, but he came in America. He was just this bearded refugee, like a migrant, you know, from nowhere. So he had to start from the beginning. No one was taking him seriously. So he had to do really crap films he didn't like. And he always said to me, no, my films of the 60s, no interest, no, it's just rubbish. And I believed him. And I realized that, oh, maybe it's a mistake. You shouldn't believe this. So have a go and watch them. But that's films of the 60s, B, Z, Z series films, you know, not good films. But how am I going to watch them? So I said, in DVD they are not available, they are so bad. But I had never done this before. You know, I'm not that young as my kid, so I go to YouTube. Which is not, you know, my natural to go to YouTube. Now it's becoming, but well. So, and I check Vilmos Zsigmond film one after the other, and they were nearly all there on YouTube. So I could see the work of Vilmos that he hated on YouTube. And guess what? They were very interesting, those films, as cinematographically. The stories and the actors, really not. And I made a great discovery of one film called The Name of the Game is Kill by Gunnar Hellström in '68. He never mentioned this. So you will see how I inserted in the film this period, but it's a bit specific in the film. But I let you the surprise.
Yes, we did some research because, yes, we had a book written by Emilio, and thanks for us, we have Emilio's garage too. Yes, because in the final scene, that is the scene that we use for the credits too, after that scene, if you have the possibility to watch again the movie, don't move because there is another short scene. Okay, in that garage, Emilio conserved all the objects from the sets. And in his house too. For example, there are some scenes of Jeannette, his wife, and Emilio sitting down on their armchairs, and there is under them the carpet used in Shining. So if you have the chance to go to Casino and to visit Emilio, you will find there almost a museum. That's why our American distributor, Ratpack, made an offer to buy Emilio's garage, where there are all stuff from The Clockwork Orange to Eyes Wide Shut of the set. And he would like to buy the garage to make a Stanley Kubrick museums in Los Angeles. And above all, we got so many letters and posties and notes that Kubrick was used to leave everywhere regarding Emilio's duties. So we are really full of articles or items, and we decided, of course, to concentrate the story for a documentary cut using only these objects. Other things, for example, in our documentary, which is a very long interview to Emilio, we decided to use only the musics that were used by Stanley Kubrick for his movies. So we didn't want to use the footage of of his movie, because you know perfectly how was the scene where Jan Ackman tried to kill Scatman, and we don't need to to show you again the scene, but we evoke it with sound design, very, very good according to me, and then with music. So.
Any more questions?
Has either of you or both of you have had any exposure to Indian cinema, both art house as well as commercial, and do you have any thoughts? Have you seen, watched any kind of Indian cinema, either art house movies or commercial movies, and do you have any thoughts to share?
I watch a little of Indian movie, and I really appreciate the energy and the music scenes and songs. I think that your society, which is different, of course, from our, and this is the beauty of diversity, has an energy and a positive message that always arrives. But unfortunately, yes, and this is very important, especially in this peculiar moment in the world where we live, with a lot of fears for what can happen, and so the message I really like and appreciate. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to discover your art house movie, and I would like, I will do in the next days, I'm sure.
See, I would like to apologize because I'm a dedicated cinephile, but I know very little about Indian cinema. So I would like to accept my excuses. Apart from Satyajit Ray, which is a master, I know very little about Indian cinema, but I'd better run now to discover the rich aspects, all over regions you have, and I'm very eager to know more about your cinema. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to both of you. You gave us very interesting insights, which maybe we won't, realize watching the film. 25th, I'm sure we'll all be able to catch a glimpse, and yours, hopefully, there'll be a repeat. And it was really very interesting listening to both of you, because people want to file their stories. It's time, so they all went out showing me with their eyes they're going. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.